gentlemen, welcome to Library Sessions here with JG, P. Pablo. CB's in the house. We got two great special guests today. One being country music artist Joe Peters.
How's it going?
And old timer here now, MLB retired, Colby Lewis. Mm-hmm. So just want to welcome everybody to the show. So let's have a good day here. Beautiful Thursday. It's only 105. So
that's terrible. Here in Worthington, I'm from the East Coast. I know you all are on the left coast. That's fine. Stand by a minute. We got lovely weather. It's 76 degrees, blue skies, gardens growing. Good to have you guys on.
Just rubbing it in, man. Come on.
76% of humidity.
No, not today, baby. Not today. Typically, yes, but not today.
iPhone just came out saying it was going to be 120 next week. They think that's an error on the iPhone. No shit. I swear to God, it's at 120 today on the iPhone.
That's an absolute error.
It's got to be an error. How do you have an error on the weather app like that?
What is the Weather Channel?
Exactly right.
I mean, you shitting me?
Everybody was blown.
Little side note, best weather gig ever, the weatherman in San Francisco or San Diego.
Ron Burgundy.
What kind of work are you doing in San Diego? Today's weather, yesterday.
75. Keep it rolling. Yeah.
That's awesome. So we're going to dive in here a little bit. We're going to talk about Joe's career. Joe, a couple things. How long have you been doing this and how long have you been trying to pursue this career in country music?
Okay, so this whole thing is very relatively new to me as far as being in the music career. I got my first guitar when I was 8 years old. Okay. I didn't start learning how to play guitar until I was 17 or so. And then I moved back to California from Arizona, and I was pressured by some buddies of mine to go out and sing karaoke one night. And I sang Poncho.
You were not pressured. You were not pressured.
I was pressured, but I was pressured out. I sang Poncho and Lefty with a good buddy of mine. And that was the first time ever singing in public like that. And I was like, oh, shit, okay, that was kind of fun, whatever, you know. And so I was playing the guitar at that time, and I'd kind of taken a liking to just the lyrics of some of the songs I was listening to, and I wanted to kind of start writing my own songs. And that took me to about age 20. And at that point, I was working in the oil fields at the time, and my career in the oil fields was picking up. And so I set the guitar down, and I didn't think twice about it. And during the course of my oil field career, I was team roping a lot. I was competing a lot over the western states, and I had a good buddy of mine, Justin Pensinger, who was my team roping partner. And we were traveling all over the place together, and he always wanted me to play music when we were at rodeos and ropings, and he always pushed me. Exactly, yeah. Absolutely. So he always pushed me to play music. And I think probably because he thought I couldn't make it as a team roper. You know, he's like, you need to do something different.
He knew better.
Right.
Rest in peace, brother.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
He never hurts.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, he's big enough.
Yeah, I want to know where that guitar is with inflation and know how much that guitar is worth now.
Oh, good Lord Almighty.
Holy cow, it might be $200.
Exactly.
Got a Toys R Us, right?
Yeah, exactly. Literally worth tens of dollars.
Oh my God!
But no, so it started right there at rodeo arenas, and in 2015, Justin was taken from us in a car accident, and when that happened, I pretty much stopped roping almost immediately overnight, and I was kind of at a lull in my life as far as like what my passions were. I was still working in the oil fields, but I didn't have anything to really pursue outside of that, and I was on an insurance meeting of all things. I went to Nashville, Tennessee for the first time in 2019. I was by myself, and I was just walking around Nashville, and I went to the Ryman, and they were inducting Loretta Lynn into the Songwriters Hall of Fame.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I got to go there and watch that, and it's something about that just sparked a fire under my ass, and I wrote a song while I was back there, first song I'd written in years. And I got back in town, and I immediately started playing shows, and that was end of 2019. And so fast forward to 2024, we've been Dodgers Stadium, open for Tim McGraw, Chris Young, we've been playing all over the place, and just really.
You got a big one coming up, right, with Jason Aldean?
Yeah, we got one going out with Jason Aldean for a few, man. And so I mean, this that was kind of just the 1,000-foot view of how this whole thing kind of came together, and it's been a ride ever since.
So let me talk to you a little bit, so obviously. A musician, right? I have no talents.
Neither do I.
That on this panel.
Hey, you can talk.
Okay, well, you can talk. I don't know why that's even coming up. Wow, and you can work out. Congratulations.
Bingo.
But the reality of it is, I want to. Right. I mean, this guy. Right.
Yeah, look
you know,
good.
The shoes on the other. What is it?
Tan good. Look good for the wife. That's it.
I don't even do that, pal. But let's talk about like the first song that you wrote. Like, what was the impact of that song when you were like, "Holy shit, this is it, man"?
So
like, I'm into this.
the first song that I ever recall writing that was back when I was about 20, 21. I was in town, and there was this homeless guy that was in downtown Bakersfield, and a veteran helped me. You know, I'm a retired veteran, and this guy that I was with, he said that guy's standing there because he's still back over there, and that was the first time a line like that kind of hit me.
That just hit me. That's deep, dude.
I was like, oh, that's what they call a hook. Oh shit, you know. And you know, oh, now I get what that's about. And so I wrote a song called Stephen Thomas, based on a fictional character, loosely based on this guy that we saw standing there. And I couldn't play it for you today if I wanted to, but I remembered I was like, this is okay. Now I've got that feeling of what songwriting is about and how to structure songs. And for anybody out there that's listening that's ever attempted to write songs, it's not it's a simple process, but it's not easy, you know. Right. And there's a lot of things that kind of roll into it. And I'm learning stuff every day when I sit down and try to write stuff. But that, I think there's those points in life that it's like hitting a good golf shot. You know, it's that one thing that keeps you going to the next spot to want to have the motivation.
That happens to me like once every year. It's horrible.
Hey, you never watched this guy play golf.
That's exactly.
Come on, man. It's not beat up on TV.
Joe, you know, I just started my country career, you know, in the side of the country world that I do.
Yeah.
But I was in rock and roll for a long time, and you said you wrote your first song, and you know, they say it takes your entire life to write your first song or your first record. Then you got 18 months to make the next one. So it's kind of like a boom. Like, it took me this long to write this song or this album, which is badass. Maybe there's a single, maybe there's some good songs, but then you're under the gun, right? Because now you have it, and you've got to make it happen again, where it's slightly unfair because I had my whole life and all the things that I went through in my life to get me to this point, to this awesome thing. And now you're telling me, well, that's got 18 months and we need something else.
Yeah, I mean, you think, you know, you like my first project that I put out was kind of just a synopsis of what I was going through at life. And if you listen to that project, number one down, it's kind of like a storybook in chapters of everything I was going through at the time. And like you said, you know, I've summarized my entire life. I felt like Dewey Cox, you know what I mean? I got to think about my entire life before I play.
God, I love that movie.
So,
John C. Reilly's awesome.
But you're right, though. Like, okay, so you put that out. Okay, then what? You know, now you got to figure out other stuff and
follow it up.
And I got really fortunate. I met some friends that introduced me to some other people back in Nashville, and I'm a firm believer in you got to have a tribe of people with you that's actually can help you out and help move the goals down the road a little bit, because
in your corner.
Exactly, because if you can't do this by yourself, if you can, got hats off to you. I can't do it by myself. I need people on my side. And when I finally got people that were, you know, when I went back to Nashville, because the first project I did, I was doing all by myself out here in Bakersfield, and then I went to Nashville and really found out, oh shit, I'm way behind in comparison to how good these people are and what they're capable of. I fell right into a great group of people that have been taking good care of me and teaching me and mentoring me on how to write songs and how to stage the next project, if you will. And it's been strange to see how far I've come, but how, you know, at the same time, my story is still the same. You know, I kind of thought that if I was going to have to write, you know, my whole life story on that first project, that I need to come up with different stuff. I'm still finding things from my life prior that I can still write about and still pull from. So it's been quite a treat to be able to be back there and working with people that can.
Right. I think we all need that, right? Everybody in this room, or at least they can actually be honest with themselves. You're going to need help in life, right? I mean, you need mentors. You gotta have a ceiling, right? So one of the greatest stories I ever heard is once you get to the top of the mountain, you just build another mountain. You got to keep building, right? You've obviously done that career. Colby's done his career. Pete in his career. JG in his career. And I'm trying my best to do it in my career. But when you're done trying to get to or build that other mountain, that's when you might as well hang it up. And in this room, we aren't those people. And thank God we had good parents and good upbringing, good, grew up correct, and you learn good work ethic, and that travels with you. And then you start hanging around people that want to be successful, that are dreamers, and that's the biggest thing, dreamer. Right. One time you dreamt of that. Right. Colby's dreamt of playing baseball. It's just
Joe,
what it is.
Let me talk to you about when you said you went to Nashville and you were a songwriter, and then it's almost like, holy shit, these guys are fucking professionals. Like,
yeah,
you went there and you saw how these cats had their craft honed, and it made you think like, and I think it could go either way. You could be like, fuck me, man, I'm fucking way up my league. Or now I know, like, I want to do this, and now I know what it takes to put the work in, and that goes to Colby as well. Oh, I think I'm a badass, or, I've got chops, singing, songwriting, throwing that ball. And then maybe you go to a camp where, you were a big shot somewhere else, and then you see someone else and you're like, fuck me, man. Like,
yeah, the pond keeps getting bigger. Right? The pond gets bigger.
And that'll either make you be like, fuck, or, okay, now I know what's up, and let's do this.
Everyone thinks they're Billy Badass until they actually meet him. You know what I mean?
There's that guy out there.
Exactly. And
Mike Tyson said everybody has a fight plan until you get punched really hard in the fucking face. And that could happen to a songwriter or a pitcher or just Joe Blow in life.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm sure, Colby, there's got to be a time in your career where it was a humbling experience for you, where you thought okay, I've got some shit going, and then found out pretty quick that it was not.
No, absolutely. I mean, sports are based upon like, okay, you come out of Bakersfield, California, right? You're the best in Bakersfield, California, right? So then you get drafted, right? So, well, everybody that comes out of their hometown is the best, right? So then you go into like the draft pool and the team you're at, right? So then there's 30 other teams too, and they're all the best in their little area, right? So like, all right, I throw 98 miles an hour. Well, there's 10 other dudes out here that all throw 98 miles an hour.
Cool, so does he.
So, so it's like, all right, so like, what's going to separate yourself, right? So you have to find those little, intricacies and all that kind of stuff. Kind of same thing with songwriting or whatever, how you're going to do it and how you perform or how you get, like for me, in my situation, how I get outs, right? How quick you do it, or you sitting on stage and how the presence is or whatever it is, and how quickly people adapt to you, right? So, and how much they want to love on you and embrace you, right? So for me, it was like, I got to perform, period. I got to put numbers, right? I got to be able to move through this small, like our, I was drafted by the Texas Rangers. I got to move through this organization as fast as I possibly can, because I got, ultimate goal is, right, to commas and zeros, right? Let's go make money. Right?
Plus, there's a life or a shelf life on that as well.
Exactly, right? And I mean, like the old saying is, right, like you only have a certain amount of bullets you're going to throw, right? So it's like, right? Or in your case, you just reload, right? Reload. Hey, reloading.
Yeah, right? We didn't play Fortnite. There's no responding. Didn't happen.
But in the physical side of things, like, there's only a certain amount of times that you're actually going to, physically, perform and be able to do it. So I think the window is limited, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, in Joe, and like your case, like, I mean, like you can see these guys and like you
Same
have a
window.
successful career.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yes and no, because I mean, if you do it right, I mean, you can sing until you're 70. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So it's like, and like,
are we raising the bar right now?
Right, 100%. Yeah.
Wow.
Like,
come on, Joe, you can do it. 70 plus.
You know what I mean? No,
I want to see you out there 83 getting it on.
But really though, right? I mean, that's the ultimate goal, right? To be like multi-plat. Like,
I mean, George Strait's retired how many times? 5 times, 6 times?
You wanted to be the best, right? When you get into a field, right? No sense in same thing we're talking about earlier, right? You get into whatever your passion is that like, I want to be the best at it, right?
Absolutely.
And play as long as I possibly can and see what happens, right?
Yeah, I think the one thing that we all kind of, I think, can agree on, at least in my point of view, is that, through any journey in life, whether it's music or it's professional baseball or it's freaking running a whole band, and not only that, but Petey Pablo's a musician himself, or JG and I being business owners, you're going to have people that like you and that don't like you, no matter what. Somebody's trying to put you down. It just is part of the game. I'm sure that JG and I go through a lot of this. Either you love what we do or you don't.
Right.
And there's people trying to knock you once again off that mountain, so build another mountain. And I think that's true to be for sports or musicians or whatever you're up, whatever odds you think you're up against, just know you can get through them, persevere through all that stuff.
And especially like for me in the music side of things, when I was always like and still to a degree I'm self-conscious about how I perform or my voice for that matter, or like because you always strive for perfection.
Well, come listen to me in the shower singing.
But there's this point of like, when I went to a vocal coach a while back, and she kind of changed my perspective on a lot of things by saying that, listen, you're not Chris Stapleton. You're not Alicia Keys. This is the keys that you sing in. This is the way you should be singing. Stay in your lane, and you'll be surprised the doors that can open up for you. Now, that doesn't mean to recess or to fall back. It just expand on the things that you're good at.
Right.
And over the last few years, I found some of my strengths and I found some of my weaknesses, and I'm starting to put them in separate columns and starting to look at them with that respect and doubling down on the things that we can do right. And really staying away from those.
I mean, there's only so many people
qualities.
who are that talented. I don't care what sport it is, or musicians, or business owners. I look up to a lot of business guys, but I go, gosh, like, what am I doing something wrong here? This guy's doing, and then eventually you're like, I got to quit worrying about what he's doing. Maybe I pick his brain. And the one thing I love, and I know JG definitely asks these same questions as I do, the only thing in life that's free is advice. So go listen to the guys that have already done it, been through the trials and tribulations, up and down the valleys, and they just go, hey, don't do this.
That's why God gave you 2 ears in one mouth. You know what I mean?
Right.
You listen twice as much as you talk.
One for your wife to punch you in, and then,
Exactly right.
that's it.
Joe said that he talked to a vocal coach and stay in your lane, do what you know. It's got to be the same thing for Cobra. I mean, you found what was good, what worked for you, and you master that. I'd rather master 3 pitches than have 5 and, 1. Yeah, I can throw it, but no, fuck that. This is Major League Baseball. I'm a Major League ball player. I'm fighting for a contract. I'm fighting for ounce. I want people to be happy. I'm throwing what I know works, especially against this guy. Like his is like Joe's in the country world. Joe's pitching to an audience.
Right.
Notice I said pitching.
Yeah.
This guy is pitching to a human being. This guy, he knows this guy. You see these cats are looking at notes like they're lawyers. Like, what do I got for this guy? Yeah. He knows this cat. Like he knows this cat. I've pitched this guy 5-6 times. I know the count. When it's this count, I know what he likes. I know what he doesn't like. I know what to throw. And some of it is, woo, let's go. It's 3 and 2.
To extent, but the similarities are the same, knowing to where the venues that you're at, though, as well, right? So you're going to pitch a little bit, I know I'm going to get, like where you're at, like you're a big Yankee fan and all that kind of stuff and everything else. Like, the venue you're sitting in, right? So it's like I know I'm going to get booed. I know I'm going to come out and I'm like, all the odds are against you, right? So
it's all love.
Right? Yeah, it is what it is, right? So, knowing the venues that you're going to is like, all right, hey, these people are blue collar, like I'm playing in this town, or I'm like more on wherever you play at. You kind of have to maybe there might be a slight adjustment, right? But for me, yes, at the end of the day, I got to get guys out. For him, it's an entertaining process of still maybe it might be something in between songs that he's talking about, right? And it's appealing to the context of where you're at.
Well, it's also what you're trying to identify with everybody, especially in the music
100%.
world, and it's probably the same when you're playing at home.
You want to be loved.
You're identifying. It's no different, I think,
period.
when me and JG walk in our office. You want to, just the recognition you get when you walk in there, right? And it's like, I know the environment I'm walking to. Now, if I'm walking into another meeting, or JG's walking to another meeting, and we know our competition's in there, it's like, it changes the whole narrative of your approach going in, right? Mind switches.
Right. I've found through my own, few years of studying, going out and playing these shows, it's like, I know that if it's impossible in this world, off a stage or on a stage, to dial in to every single person that you come in contact with. It's an unrealistic expectation. Yeah, but if you can 100%. Be unequivocally and without any shame of just being yourself 120% of the time,
people are gonna love you.
You connect with people more so, whether they think of you as a character or they think of you as themselves, or they have some sort of relatability. And that's kind of where we've tried to figure out. It's like, to hell with trying to impress people when we go play in LA versus we're going to go, be up in in Frog Balls, Arkansas,
right?
And hang out,
but
hang out with our relatives.
But you're taking those same grassroots where you
exactly
how you feel, and then putting that on them so that they feel every emotion, right?
Absolutely.
No different than pride. This is the one thing I'll tell you. So it's funny, Pete, you bring that up, because I think the one thing that we can all identify with, definitely, and within this conversation here on Library Sessions, is that everybody always goes, "Oh, I can sing that song," right? How many times you heard that, Pete? Tons. I'm sure Joe's heard, "Oh, I could sing better than that." I guarantee. I'll give you a funny story about Colby.
I could only sing tenor, like 10 or 12, 10 or 12 miles away from everybody else. You do not want to hear me sing.
Shit.
I love that, JG. Way to be. Like I said, JG and we have zero talent at all. This show is based on no talent.
I got talent, just not singing.
Okay, then I'm the only one here that's a zero. That's awesome. But I would say it's fun. We go to this Bakersfield College fundraiser, and it was for BC baseball. And it's one of those things like, they do the alumni game, and Colb's back, and he's playing in it, and we end up hosting this dinner, right? And there's these young kids trying to aspire to do what Colby's done, or several guys from this town that have done it. Maybe not to the level he has, but nevertheless, they've tried it. So this young kid, I think he was a catcher at BC, and we have a good friend of ours.
I don't know if I know the story or not.
Oh yeah, this is awesome. So Coach P's in there. We're doing a fundraiser at my office, and anyhow, the junior college kids, they're walking around, got their first ever JUCO jersey on. Colb shows up, and we have a good friend of ours. Just call him Sparky, okay? So this kid's kind of popping off like, I guarantee I could hit off that guy. I don't think Colby does remember this. I mean, I'm not saying we're drinking cold beer. Yeah, so this kid's that confident, right? He's 18, right? Just moved out of mommy and daddy's house. Kid's probably not even paying his own bills, but he's like, I guarantee I can hit off this guy. Mind you, this kid's a catcher. Oh, I love that mitt. So this kid's the catcher at BC. And Sparky looks right at this kid, goes, dude, you couldn't fucking catch him. Nonetheless, hit him. And the look on this kid's face was worth every dollar that I had spent on that fundraiser. Because this kid just was completely deflated. Like, and the way Sparky said it was like, yeah, you're worried about hitting him? You couldn't catch him. I mean, dude.
There's some truth to that. When you go up against the people that are actually have done it and do it, it's a whole nother gear.
Yeah.
What do you think was your biggest strength when you were playing, and your biggest weakness?
Well, I mean, I think, and we go through processes, right?
Right.
Like we were talking about, right? Like you're started your career and you're going through it, right? So it's like there's all these nervous feelings and all that kind of stuff. Like when I first started, I bounced back and forth, between AAA and the big leagues. Granted, I was young; I was 22 years old, and trying to learn that process, right? So I think it's always like, for me anyways, like when I got on that big stage, it's like, I got to do well because I want to stay, right? And you're like, I got to have my best show. I got to have all my best stuff, right? Instead of just like what we were talking about earlier, is like, just if you're just yourself and you're like, okay, I throw the fastball down the way, I flip breaking balls, and I throw my slider for strikes and for punch outs, and this is what I do well, right? Like, you're talking about with your vocalist, like stay in your own lane. Like, I got the big leagues and I was like, I got to do all of it, right? Like, I got to be the best, right? And instead of just going like, if I stayed in my lane when I first got there, then I would have been there and stayed, right? But I bounced back and forth, went through the process and all that kind of stuff. But
think about that mindset at 22. Right. Think about now I'm not saying we're old, but it's hard to develop that mindset. But I don't even remember what 22 is like.
I mean, I was never even on a plane until I was 19 years old, right? So it's like,
there's airplanes here?
Yeah, I'm like, you talk about growing up the way you talk about growing up the way I grew up, you know what I mean? I went, my first plane ride was on a recruiting trip at 19. So it's like it's just different from how my kids grew up. Their first plane ride was when they were, freaking 6 weeks old.
Yeah, they were overseas, pal.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just different now. But anyways, the whole process is just kind of different for me, and how I took it. It's like, you have that young side of things, and you're trying to do too much instead to be the person that you actually are, So
it seems like, everything's pretty much process driven, right? It seems like, obviously the conversation's going on right now here at Library Sessions. Is it no matter what lane life takes you down, there's a process to it. You got to trust the process.
Well, and I've found that there's a vast difference between being busy and being productive.
Oh, 100%.
I found myself so when we're writing stuff out here in Bakersfield, I'll beat my head against the wall, trying to get a song done just to go back to Nashville and have it torn apart and for good reason. And
hey, by the way, that's going to be another 4-hour flight home. Joe, thanks for coming now.
Joe,
hey, I wrote that in a day.
Tell me about that, Joe. Like, how long does it take you to, I mean, from start to finish? I mean, what's the shortest one you've done, and maybe what's the longest one?
So for me,
what's that process like?
I feel like some of the best songs that I've ever been a part of have flown down on the paper, have been pretty quick. And some of the intricacies, you really start to get down to, is it they or them right here? Is it or and it's like those little tiny little things that really fine tune some of these songs we've worked on. But a lot of it, as typical day writing, we write majority of the stuff. Or I write the majority of the stuff in Nashville at Seagale Music. I'm not signed by Seagale Music. I just have a lot of good friends over there that I go and write with, and those guys are some of the best in the business. And when we walk in the room, it's as laid back as you can imagine. People pull their guitars out and they're bullshitting, having coffee and strumming on something, and maybe, hey, I got this idea of this, this line.
Right.
Hey,
but it's also about being around the people that
exactly,
and it's the comfortability.
Yeah, right. And not every idea that even some of the best writers throw out, they're like, sometimes those are lines that people pass up, and every once in a while someone will say, oh, I like that. Let's think on that for a second,
right.
and we'll start playing along to it, and then, oh shit, okay, well, what if we did it? What if we did this storyline? Oh yeah, I like that. And so then it just starts to develop, and then bam, you're off to the races, and 2 or 3 hours later, you got a song.
So you call me at midnight, and we do this quite often. Every time Joe writes a new song.
Chris is my midnight buddy.
So it's pretty funny. So I'll call him, hey, I need a song. He's like, I'll send one to you. I'll listen to it. I'll immediately call him back our song over. Okay, send me another one.
Okay, another one.
So wait, are you the one who started this with Chris of calling people at midnight? Because he calls me at midnight.
It was either me or Chris, because I'm a night out. I don't go to sleep until 2, 3 o'clock.
I've completely changed the night out thing, which is really frustrating me.
Of course.
That's exactly right.
And you're young.
Well, I don't feel that way. I'm getting older and shit now.
There's a song about that, I think.
Yeah.
Much young to
Kids
feel
got
that.
I feel like it's 9:30, and you're like, oh man, it's a little late.
Brother, I was in bed last night by 9:45, and I'm just going to be honest right now, people, at the library session.
I'll tell you, when I'm on the road, when I'm on the road doing shows, and sometimes the show's at 7. Fuck, I'm retarded. Or sometimes the show's at 8, 9, whatever. But sometimes we get chosen as shows at 10 or 11. I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Because if I'm at my house, I'm done on the couch by 9:30. Like, how am I making this happen? But it's just different times. You're in work mode. Right. You do your thing. Especially Joe, when you're the musician, you don't do fuck all day.
No.
Whoa, nothing. I'm not talking about wow, Tarzy.
You just went Da Vinci on the kid.
Maybe you go shopping, or maybe you go running, or you're
have a drink,
whatever the fuck it is. But you have nothing to do until, let's just call it Tonight Show Joe, 9 o'clock. You got nothing to do till 9 o'clock. I lose my fucking mind.
I gotta love this. So when we go see Pete and the boys at AL's concerts, and it's so funny. And Pete, you hit it on the head, because Cody and Pete are running everywhere, and we'll go on the bus, have a couple cold beers,
Step.
And then these guys running around, chickens on their heads cut off, and Pete's probably seen, thousands and thousands of shows. And I'm like, dude, will you relax? He's like, yeah. So it's gotten to the point now, so when I even go to the show, my most relaxing time is Pete and I and Cody in the back.
When the show starts.
Hey, getting the haircut.
Hey. Finally, it's like, all right.
Getting our haircut. What's our haircut guy's name? Love that guy.
But Steve. But when the show starts, it's like, okay, cool. Everyone's gone. Like you're in the office. I can crunch along. But at the same time, you still got your ear to it, because you never know, maybe something stupid's going to happen, or some drunk guy come on the stage, or
that did happen,
or whatever. You're in charge, so I always thought of this. I don't know how I ever wanted to be. I don't think I ever wanted to be in charge, because whenever the cops come, the first thing they say is, "Who's in charge?"
Who's in charge here?
And I never wanted that, but it's part of the gig. It's a good thing, Joe. I wish you success. I've seen your shows coming up. I also have a question for you. I'm on your homepage, and there's a Nova And Cobra says the Cobra Nova says that it might be a 70s or something. Is that your vehicle?
That's a 72.
Or is that a rental?
That's a 72. That was that
It's
car.
badass.
That car was absolutely, and it was kind of, actually, here's a funny thing. I was getting out of, when I stopped roping and stuff, and I sold all my horses, and I moved into town, so to speak. I wanted to get, I got rid of my motorcycles, I got rid of everything. I was like, fuck, I need to do something. And so a buddy of mine had this car that was, I mean, it was built, had a 396 in it, completely redone on the inside. Car was absolutely badass. Sounded like, I mean, when you think American Muscle, like, I mean, it would start alarms on cars a couple blocks over.
God, you gotta love that. America.
And I bought that car. I just felt like I stole the thing. And I had it for a while, and a buddy of mine wanted to buy it. And the car was giving me some problems. And I'm not a master mechanic at all, but it felt like it was kind of like vapor lock. Like the motor would shut off, and it would get kind of weird over certain temps. And I didn't know what the hell was going on with it. And so my buddy offered to buy it from me for his daughter for her birthday.
Oh, so he's the mechanic head.
Yeah, exactly. And I said, listen, you little prick. I said, if you get to your house and you change a fuse on this son of a bitch and it starts working, I'm gonna be a mad motherfucker. So,
for those of you who don't know what a vapor lock is, you can go to YouTube and they'll tell you what a vapor lock is. You're speaking to a broad audience.
True
you don't
story.
have a lot of fucking monkeys, grease monkeys going after it over here. You know what I mean? But badass car, and then you sold it to this guy.
Sold it to this guy, and luckily it kicked his ass for about 6 months trying to figure out what was going on. And apparently they were had all the boys over there one day working on it, and they had wire testers around, and the guy climbed in the car and turned the wheel. And apparently the steering shaft had arcing over. There was a loose wire.
So that was a great sell.
Exactly. There was a wire that was just rubbing right on the bottom side of the steering column that was shorting the motor out.
Ground it out.
And grounding it out. And so they put a new wire loom in it. The car runs fine. And it's right down the street from where I used to live. So I get to go see it all the time.
The one thing I love about this little town we live in, the one thing I love, you go to LA, Beverly Hills, right? Everybody's got, got to get a Lamborghini. You got to get
Range Rover.
a Range Rover, because, mommy and daddy bought it.
Or get a G-Wagon.
They got to feel fashion weight. They were born in it, right? So you come to this little town, it's like the first time you get a little bit of scratch where you're like, maybe I'll splurge. All of our buddies here, we go buy old
glass
cars.
pack on an old
Like I was like,
old cars. Let's go buy a 3/4 ton.
Right.
Right. I got a Z71.
Yeah. I mean, Colby's a junkie on cars. I think JG, you got an old one, don't you?
I have a Mach 1 Mustang, and then I have my F-250 Ford truck, pickup truck.
Yeah.
Bakersfield style.
Listen, I mean, just living the dream up here, right here.
Yeah. Hey, man, if it ain't a Ford truck, it ain't built Ford tough. I'll tell you.
That's right.
Library Sessions brought to you
Shout out to Jim Burke Ford.
Well, hold on now. I buy all GMCs, so unless you're listening.
Shout out to all of our dealerships.
What car is sitting out in your driveway?
I just bought a 68 Cadillac Coupe de Ville drop top, one of my dream cars my whole life.
I think it was slick looking.
She pretty, buddy.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to go with the Lambo or you want to jump in the drop top.
Yeah.
Checking out the babes.
Yeah.
I am happily married, by the way. So, honey, don't kill me.
Yeah.
But, I take my 14-year-old.
Hey, man, you could check out babes. A good buddy of mine said.
That's why they made sunglasses.
He said, I might be married, but, checking out other chicks is like going to the museum. You can't touch anything, but you can sure look, unless you know the curator. Then he takes you down. Really cool stuff.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think your wife and my wife, I know for a fact, Jimmy, they will stab us.
There's so many stories on that.
Ladies and gentlemen, here on the library sessions, if one of us go missing, it's the wives.
Yeah.
So just be very careful at home.
Number 2, right to the neck.
Tonight on Dateline.
Oh, God. I don't want to be on the ID channel. The show freaks me out.
There's a lot of land around here. We can go this way.
Hey, I got a question, Mr. Cobra.
Yeah.
And it might be way out to you, but when you were playing, so you played for Sacramento River Cats and Round Rock, right? AAA?
Yeah. When I was younger, yeah.
2 questions. What park was better? All encompassing the player stuff, the park. Because I'm a huge
Dell Diamond. I mean, like
AAA guy.
Nice.
I love going to those parks. They have great parks. AAA parks, of course, are great. One of my favorite single A parks is the Corpus Christi Hooks. But anyways, out of those 2, Sacramento and Round Rock, what was the best park?
So I'm actually going to change things up here a little bit. So when Dell Diamond was actually built, it was actually a AA ballpark. So so I actually played that stadium when it was a AA. So for the Texas League. So then it converted over, and that's when Nolan's boy owned it. And I don't know if they still own it or not. But so it only converted a little bit later when I got to the big leagues into a AAA ballpark. But in 07, I mean, of course, I loved Sacramento. I mean, I've told that story before. Like 07, go to camp with the Washington Nationals. You know, Jenny's pregnant, my wife's pregnant. You know, get released, fly home for the merit for my son to get be born, induction, and all that kind of stuff, and then they released me. Nationals released me that day, basically. Fly red eye back, get all my stuff in Florida, fly back home, and then finish up camp with the Oakland. And then that's in 2007. That's when I had to go up to Sacramento and play for the River Cats for about 2 months. But and then
8-3 record.
Yeah, had a good had a good season. Well, I mean, you know, for the time I was there, and then went to Japan 2 years after that, and then came back and played 7 more years in the big league. So yeah, it was a process, man.
We talked about this earlier, and I've got to bring it up. All of these minor league teams have just to me, that's an odd name. The River Cats. Here in Bakersfield, we have the Bakersfield Train Robbers.
I think it's more promotional stuff, you know what I mean? So what they can do and kind of give away and everything else. I think a River Cat probably is an otter, right? You know. I mean, whatever you want.
That makes more sense than Bakersfield Train Robbers.
Like you're not going to go like Sacramento River Otters. You know, I don't know. I mean, just River Cats might sound a little bit better. I mean, you know what I mean? So I don't know. I mean, it is what it is. But
throw a bunch of names up against the wall.
Right? Exactly. Like throw it out there and kind of see what you know.
Who would have won? When you were on both teams? Who would the River Cats would have beat Round Rock?
For what?
When you were playing
on the same teams?
If you could take those two teams, when you were on the River Cats and you were on Round Rock, who would have won? Who had the better squad?
River Cats did that year. We won the championship that year, so we got I got a little AAA ring for that deal. So
you were there the whole time?
No, I was only there for about 2 months, and then I was with the big league club the rest of the time. So,
and how does that work when you're AAA and you get called up? How does my check look? What's the difference?
Big difference. So, well, actually, this is how much inflation and everything else has kind of changed in when you would call it union process and everything else with the players union and all that kind of stuff. So like when I first broke in, and I'm sure you can look back on the same thing, you know, guys before me and everything else. So when I first broke in at 22 years old, my paycheck was $200,000 a year. So the very next year I got a $100,000 bump for not doing anything because it was a bargaining agreement, and because inflation and, you know, everything else was, you know, price of stuff, we got a $100,000 bump, and I was like, sweet. I didn't do anything. I got a $100,000 bump for, you know, for being average, you know. So anybody on the squad, you could have sat the bench. I just got a bump. Right, for the very next year, for rookies, anyways. Right. So but the big difference is between AAA and the big leagues, depending on if you're a 40-man guy or not. If the organization, you're like internally, because you have your like 26 guys that are on the big league club, and then you have your remaining 14 that are protected within the minor leagues, and it's kind of, they can go up and down as many times as they want to throughout the year.
That was fantastic math, by the way. That was real brain ball.
Hey, I'm telling you, that's some good North High math.
That is fun. Shout out to the 08. You guys got a kid out there.
I almost wore the Dale hat.
Wow.
So, right?
JG, are you impressed by that math?
Right.
I'm very impressed.
I mean,
especially, nothing against. I know a lot of smart guys from North High.
But the biggest difference is getting like now it's like the minimum, what is it, $800,000 now? So like for rookies. So I mean, it's crazy, like how much everything is kind of escalated and the amount of money.
Put a little bit of that two on
now, boy. Hey, you see that? She's taking off, right? She's got the hats and everything, right?
Capitalism at its best.
Right.
If you were playing AAA, you started the season in AAA.
Correct.
You were making
So I was non-roster guy that year, right? So my son gets born, they pick me up, Oakland picks me up. I'm a non-roster guy, right? So there's a bunch of guys that getting called up and everything else. And me and Tim Lincecum actually were like really kind of like just going crazy that year. I had like a 1-something ERA, and he had the same thing.
Oh, great pitcher.
Right. So so he gets, of course he gets called up. I don't get called up because I'm a non-roster guy, right? It takes them to move a 40-man guy and call me up, right? Yep. So like maybe one of their, prospect guys or anything else. And I'm 26 or 27 at the time. So they're like, hey, like this guy's already got 3.5, 4 years in the big leagues. Like, are we going to move a guy, one of our prospects, to give him $400,000 and guaranteed, and we're going to lose a spot in the 40-man like spots?
Yeah.
So it took him a long time to call me up, and I was just grateful to be at home
for the $400,000 is what you were grateful for.
Well, no, I was actually grateful to be in the state of California, because even if I had stayed with the Washington Nationals, I could have been on the East Coast with a brand new baby, like not around my family. I was released by them, like to be in Sacramento. My wife traveled back and forth. It was like There's a lot
of factors.
Yeah,
when it comes to life and baseball.
Yeah, life and baseball. Yeah. So like she was able to go back and forth from Sacramento and Oakland at the time, and it worked out. I wouldn't, it just sucks that like you get released on the day your kid's born. You know what I mean? And then basically 10 days later, our insurance lapse. So I need a job. Otherwise, everything out of pocket. Say my kid gets sick, like I got to pay everything out of pocket. You know what I mean? If I'm not on a team.
So think about this. This is what's crazy. So obviously, Cade's born.
Right.
You're 400,000 a year, 26 years old. What is that?
I mean, I was making 20 in the minor leagues, non-roster.
Yeah.
I think I was making $3,200 a month.
That's what I'm saying. But I'm going from that drastic to $200,000 to $400,000
for 6 months. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. To that amount of money, can you imagine the average day American right now how they're feeling?
Yeah, living out of literally, we had like blankets on an extended stay on the ground, and my kid was cruising around, and that's where we lived out of an extended stay.
And JG's got
Sacramento.
And here's a guy. So anybody listening right now, the dude is a professional baseball player, played in the majors, is playing AAA ball, and doesn't know where his insurance is coming from, is in an extended stay with a brand new kid crawling around on the floor on blankets. And I think people in America or in the world, they just think this dude's a professional baseball player. Fucking life is.
Everybody sees the after result, right? Everybody sees where you ended up at.
Yeah, they see the commas and zeros.
They see the success,
the big stuff,
but they don't see the struggle getting up to that point and everything you went through to get to that point. They don't see what Joe's going through right now. The sacrifice
it's no different. It's no different than anybody trying to do it, right? Joe kind of doing his thing right now, right?
Shoot, dude, I was out on the job site this morning measuring footings with a shovel in my hand, trying to make sure the bills are paid.
Yeah,
see, exactly. You know what I mean?
It's
not.
But I don't think that's for everybody too. I do believe that's part of this town we grew up in.
Well,
but it's worth it.
There's no sink or swim here. We swim.
Right. It's all.
That's the way. And this town rallies around everybody here, whether it's business wise or musician wise or pro athletes. I mean, we all kind of grew up together, so it's very easy to root for your buddies. I want everybody to succeed. Right. And when I mean that, I mean my friends.
Yeah.
Right.
I hope, because at the same time, some guy's taking money out of my buddy's pocket, and his kid was just born.
Right.
Yeah.
Now I know Colby being him.
Everybody, and I would like to think that men and women in this country, look, you got to make stuff happen.
Right.
Like you can't just call it quits. Like I've got 3 kids. I've got a good gig. If it ends, you better find something else, because this still is spinning. You can't just call it quits. Make it happen. I said to my father, I said, Dad, when I got another kid or this and that, and he was like, I don't know. You figure it out. Right. Nobody ever told me.
Tough love.
Nobody ever told me. There wasn't a handbook.
Right.
Your dad or your friends or your uncles or your grandfather can give you advice, but
dude,
when it's happening in the moment, make it happen. We had Joe Schilling on last podcast, and he was, fighting, and it really wasn't paying the bills. And next thing you know, he's got to have a kid, and he had to make it happen. You can't just roll over and let this little person or the wife or anybody in your life that is counting on you, well, just fuck it. Fuck it.
Something the way it works. And you know what, Pete, you're turning into, honestly, your new nickname, JG, you need to write this down. We got Petey Pablo's. He's turned into complete Nostradamus today. And I love the enthusiasm. Can we get Petey Pablo?
You have to keep going. You can't just die, right?
Absolutely.
That's not what we're supposed to do. We're
as a man.
And
take care as a man, as a woman. It doesn't matter. As a human, you don't just die. You can't. You got to keep going. You got to keep moving. You know what? When you wake up in the morning, make your bed. You know why? Because it's the only thing you do all day. You've accomplished one thing. And the second part of that is, if you've had a shitty day, when you come home, bed's made. Isn't that nice? A lot of people will say, why am I make my bed? I'm just going to get it and mess it up again. It's a sense of accomplishment. The first thing you did all day was made your bed. You've already succeeded.
The other thing that's really smart for men, get up and get out before everybody wakes up in your house. It's very quiet. Remember we talked about ID channel thing, JG?
Yep.
Talked about that to you this morning.
Because I don't want to wake up to chaos.
No.
And being a mom sometimes is chaotic.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I got to get out of here.
But man, you can't like moms are like the best, dude.
Yeah. You talking about our moms or our kids' moms?
Well, I mean, as we get older, we've developed into like it's hard for us to understand and for them to let go because they look at us like we're still 5 years old.
Well, I think that's a Gary Allen song, isn't it, Joe? When tough little boys grow up to be men.
That's right.
Right? I mean,
big babies again,
Petey said it earlier. Like, I think the perfect thing is to be able to wake up and start the process.
You got to.
If you can wake up and start the process, like
you got it made, no matter what.
Something's gonna get done that day.
Yeah.
You can't mail it in. You can't mail it in. You can't mail it in. Chris said about getting up early. I talked to Chris this morning. It was probably 5:30, 6 o'clock Eastern time. I'm on the phone with this guy. That's the left coast. He's up at 3:30 in the morning. I leave my bedroom. I close it. My wife's asleep. She works her ass off. 3 boys, the house, the whole bit, runs a food truck. She just does everything. I close her door as quiet as I could because I don't want anything to disturb her. Let her sleep. I don't care if she gets up at 11. She won't. But let her sleep.
I also don't want to get punched. That's kind of my reason.
I go sit outside. I don't listen to anything. I just take it in. Then I might read sports. And it's 2 hours maybe before I put the TV on. And if I put the TV on, it's sports. I'm not going to listen to all this nonsense. I want sports.
Yankees.
And the boys are asleep. The kids are asleep. I get my time by myself. And when, you know what? When they wake up and one of them comes out, hey guys, what's up? Hey buddy. And it's a good day. You can't start your day terrible. And you can't start your day not doing anything.
Absolutely.
You gotta move.
Hey, Pete, I would like to know, and JG, I want you to jump on this. I want to know how much hate mail we get from Yankee fans on our side, JG, you and I, and how much love mail Petey Pablo, Nostradamus gets on your side.
Here's the thing. The Yankees are up. They could be up and down. Right now, Judge just hit the 30 home runs, first guy to it. It was a monster, even though they lost to the Mets. They lost the other night to the Mets. They're on a losing streak. I do have a question. Did the Yankees ever knock on your door?
No, actually.
Did you ever have any interest to play in that market?
Not really.
Would it have been too much?
No.
You could have, because a lot of guys come over
It didn't matter to me. Like for me, like I felt like when I came back from Japan, there was a couple teams interested. Pirates, I think there was the Marlins in Texas that all kind of wanted me to come back from Japan, but I felt like I had unfinished business because I didn't really perform the way I needed to as a number one pick. When I first got drafted by Texas, so that's why I re-signed back with them. Plus, there was a lot of people I still knew there. A lot of other underlining factors, like you play in New York. I mean, well, yeah. I mean, like there's a lot of it's no sense. I mean, we can beat around the bush here, but like you play in New York, it's like playing in California. Like they're going to take 13-14%. You know what I mean? Like, so you're you know what I mean?
I'm thinking more like 40.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like you're like I play in the state of Texas. Like hey, I got no state tax. Like there's a lot more money to be made. You know what I mean? So
same thing would have happened in Miami if you had gone there.
Right. Same thing. Right. So
what was the squad in Miami like then?
Was it Dontre Willis was on that squad?
Yeah.
They won the World Series that year, didn't they?
No, in 7, I think they won the series,
okay.
right? Yeah, 6 or 7, I think. But regardless,
Holding on.
yeah. Regardless, I felt like that was the best fit for me at the time. I mean, I don't know. Being a California guy, it was like
It seems more of a blue collar market.
Yeah,
too, being
like,
in Texas as well. I could see that.
And I still had a lot of friends.
What a
there,
great old park too. That park is cool.
Yeah, I heard the new transition is going to be that they're trying to pass a little gaming law in the state of Texas. So I don't know. I mean, I think that that our old stadium might convert into a casino, and then the old Irvine
Dallas Cowboys stadium?
where they demoed everything is that they might build one out there too. So
Jerry Jones going to buy that
quote me
too.
on that. So, but that's
God,
that's the
I can't
rumor.
Stand the Cowboys.
Colby, do you have any ties at all or any roles in MLB right now?
So I still work for the Texas Rangers, special assistant to GM, that kind of thing. So I just kind of cruise around with a couple other guys that were with the organization for a long time. Mike Young, Ian Kinsler, Darren Oliver, which is one of my best boys, and
AB, right? Still.
no, AB hasn't taken the role yet. But we're cruising out this next week. We're going to go out to we're coming your way, dude. So after the All-Star game, we're going out for the Hall of Fame induction. So we're going to be up there in Cooperstown.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Yeah. So we're going to be out there for Cooperstown here in a couple of weeks and watch the whole induction and everything else. So, yeah.
I will say this. I noticed that. I know that your nickname's Cobra. I get it. But if you Google that, there's an Oakland A who was the Cobra, Dave Stewart.
Yeah.
Oh, number 34.
Hey,
He threw smoke too.
If I'm standing next to
He
Dave
brought the
Stewart
pain,
and we have the same
100%.
and
Yeah, when I saw that.
we have the same nickname, I'm okay with
Yeah.
that. Like
100%.
100%. That's
I thought the
I'll take
same
that all
thing.
day, every day.
I thought the same thing. Yeah. That if you had to be standing next to somebody with the same nickname, that's the guy.
That's the one thing I love about the show. Obviously, we've created Nostradamus. I mean, it's over. JG, it's a wrap. Nostradamus is in the house. JG.
Let us know.
He's on
Petey.
fire.
Let us
He's
know.
on fire today.
CB here. Soon we got our special
I'm not
guest.
sure why, but okay.
You know, country music artist Joe Peters, Major League Baseball retiree old man Colby Lewis. We're going to take a 5-minute break here. We'll be back to you just here in about 5 minutes from Library Sessions.
All right, we're here back at Library Sessions. We have our guest, Joe Peters, country music singer and Bakersfield local, and also another Bakersfield local, Colby Lewis, Texas Rangers. You guys know about him. And we got Pete Ricci. And
Nostradamus?
Nostradamus, that's his nickname. That's his nickname today. CB and JG here. So I want to start off with just a quick question here for Joe Peters.
Shoot, partner.
Why don't you tell me about the songs you did with another, speaking of Bakersfield local, Jonathan Davis, lead singer of Korn.
Man, that was such a weird experience in a good way. I want to preface this by saying Jonathan Davis, will be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame
Absolutely
one day, and the guy defined a genre of music, created a genre, and is the most humble, sweetest, kindest person that I've met in this business thus far. You think of somebody that's like that, and you kind of have your own perception of them. And Jonathan Davis, absolutely, just God,
We're
dude,
talking. They were out selling Metallica in those days, dude.
I mean, Woodstock '99, just absolutely.
Nah,
We all saw that footage.
You know what I mean?
Aftermath.
Like, no, they put it over the top.
Those
Like, it
guys
was bad.
absolutely insane. And I went and saw them. I was at the Sick New World tour with John. They invited us there. Just to see, still to this day, one, They're marketing genius. Every person there has got Korn something or other on. I mean, those guys are killing it in that game. And then just to see just to see them still have that same amount of energy and the same ability is mind-boggling for one. But going back to the songs, a few years ago, I was at a fundraiser here in Bakersfield at a friend's house, and I got sat at the table with Jonathan Davis, and now the middle school boy in me is shitting my pants because I've been a huge fan of Jonathan my whole entire life.
We're all fans.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to keep it cool, and I'm not, I don't talk anything about music or anything about, for that matter. And we ended up later that evening, just kind of by ourselves, ended up talking, and he was talking about shooting, and he likes to go out and target shoot. And so I said, well, we've got a shooting range south of town, and if you'd like to go out there sometime, you guys are more than welcome to go. It's secluded, and you guys can go do your thing, take the family out. And he said, oh, that's great, man. Yeah, shoot, give me a call. And he gave me his phone number, and I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. This is great. And so anyway.
Now you got to get your shit together and make sure that happens.
Exactly right.
Priority one.
So we ended up going out there and took his family out. His family's amazing. His boys are great. And it's just an awesome experience. And I'm out on the road in Arizona a few weeks later, and I'm with a buddy of mine, Tim Stiles, who's a hell of a songwriter, and we write a lot of stuff together. And he had just finished a song called "The Highway's Got Me Now," and he's playing it for me. And we're in my little motorhome at the time, and I'm like, dude, that's bad. Fuck, like that's an awesome song. I really dig that. So who would like it? Jonathan Davis. And I'm half tipped over, and so I think
never heard of
what a better idea than to send Jonathan Davis one of our rough cuts from a motorhome at 2:30 in the morning. And then I was like, woke up like, oh, bad idea. Don't do that,
Right.
And so, but anyway, John being John, he was like, oh, cool, cool song, man, and then, and I was like, oh, Joe, don't do that.
Rookie move.
But you're right. He's the nicest guy.
But he's the sweetest guy in the world.
Nicest guy.
And so fast forward, our relationship as friends has kind of developed. And then during COVID, we were talking about his studio, and he'd invited us down to his studio a couple of times just to see. And for those that don't know, Korn still has Buck Owens' original studio in Oildale, California.
God bless him.
Which is the hub of in central Bakersfield.
Bakersfield Sound.
That's the Bakersfield Sound where it all came from. Merle Haggard, Buck Owens.
You had the tiger by the tail.
I'm telling you. And this guy, dude, I'm telling you what, that studio looks like Buck Owens walked out of it yesterday. Same carpet, same colors, same console. It's wild to see. And he played me some old stuff that Ray Charles recorded in that studio. You name it, he's got all the old stuff in there. And so after having spent a couple times in that studio checking it out, he introduced me to his then current engineer, James Fluff Harley. And Fluffy boy. Fluff was Prince's engineer but prior to his passing. And
God, I love Prince.
Insane, right? Insane. Yeah. And so we all became friends, and I told Fluff one day, I said, we were at, I think, KC Steakhouse, and I said, dude, how cool would it be if we just took, some just dumb country musicians from Bakersfield and put them in Korn's studio? Hey, maybe that'd be a cool thing. And he kind of looked at me kind of half funny. He's like, well, I don't know. We have to run that past the big man, And I floated it out to John, that idea out, and he's all, yeah, sure, do it. And I kind of was taken back. I was like, well, literally, can we put it on a calendar or what? He's like, yeah, let's talk to Fluff, and whenever he's got time, we'll go in there and do it.
That's awesome.
And John was very much like, hey, dude, go in there and touch the walls, man, because this room is magical. This studio is
grounds,
insane.
Man.
He told us that we were the last country artist in there to record something since Merle Haggard did Make It Through December. And
wow. See, dude, that's where it says a whole nother
level. That's a whole nother, right?
It's just I got goosebumps.
That'll give you cold chills right there. Yeah. Oh my gosh!
And I'm sure there's had to have been someone between here and there, but if that was motivation enough for me to get in there and rock it, it was pretty special. And so when we did that, we had these songs, and I called Tim Stiles and I said, "Hey, dude, I want that song Highway's Got Me Now. Do you mind if I record that?" And he said, "Well, I kind of got some plans with it." I said, "Well, it's going to be done with, Jonathan Davis's boys."
The
and
game
stuff.
changer.
And he's like, "Okay, yeah, cool." Go ahead, do it. And we were looking at some other stuff, and at the same time, he had sent me another song because when you have studio time, you want to make as much use out of it as possible. You don't want to. It costs a lot of money to go and set up for one song and knock it out. So I wanted at least two songs to do, and Tim had another song called "Break Before I Bend."
That just sounds like a Korn.
Oh, dude, it was awesome.
Almost
right?
like an album that they would bring
And so Jonathan let us go in there, and we had these two songs in mind. And their producer, Chris Collier, who's become a really good friend of mine, crazy amount of credits on his career. They got in there and they made it kind of anthem rock. This was or arena rock, I should say. It was heavy, big song, and it was just exactly what we were wanting. Simultaneously, I was working on this other project, and we needed to round it out. And I said, "Man, these songs, I can't leave these other two songs alone and be by themselves. They have to be in this project." But
we're not shelving these two.
Exactly. I said, but at the same time, they didn't melodically. They kind of worked, but just the way that they were arranged needed to be toned down a touch. And so we went back in and re-recorded them at the studios with Fluff and Chris. But this time it was very special because it's only two songs. Typically when you go and record, you got session players in there and doing everything. These are the only two songs that we put out that our guys that are in my band went in and played on.
Wow.
So everything you hear was our guys. And that was a real special moment for the band in and of itself because they got to be in the studio and play and just take it all in. And Break Before I Bend, Spotify picked that up on one of their editorial playlists, and it became one of our biggest streaming songs over the last few months. And so
wasn't it on the Hot Country list?
Great. Yeah, it's a Country Rocks playlist, which is it's huge for us. It's it's a good way for us to kind of get out there. On the playlisting things, people that are curate playlists like Chris can start a playlist and he might have 20,000 followers on that playlist. Awesome. I might get, 5,000 or 6,000 streams off of that. But I get on a Spotify editorial playlist where there's 400,000 followers. That number count starts to roll. The streams start to roll. And, it's kind of funny because when we pitched the idea to have these songs on this project, there was some, I would say, an ultimate resounding no from everybody in Nashville, but there was some pushback. I think a lot of times people want to have their hand on the project because, it's their project too, and we really push for these songs and they've turned out to do us, very well. So, and it's so cool, you got two Bakersfield guys that came together and made something happen.
And completely two different genres.
Two different genres.
Yeah. You wouldn't expect. Even people that listened to Korn and followed Korn up when we grew up and listened to all that, you wouldn't necessarily think, oh, Jonathan Davis is working with some Bakersfield boys from country.
And Jonathan and he had a very on the creative side, he was very much you guys do your thing. He was never even really involved in that, but he was such an instrumental point. He opened the door. He was the gatekeeper.
Right.
Anything in here you guys want to use, do it. And he came in there and checked it out. And he sat behind the console and vibed to what we were doing. And it's like, to me, you feel like such a friggin' idiot being around people like that because you're like, what am I doing? You know what I mean? But,
and I'll be honest with you. I remember when we were growing up, definitely in the early 90s when Korn first just got together. And we'd go to field parties, and I'll never forget this. Their first CD they came out back in the old school days, there was 5 songs on it. And they played in this dirt field, and it was like, back in those days, I think it was $2 for a red solo cup out of the keg. They played in the dirt field, and we heard this sound that I don't think the world had ever heard, way before the world even got a hold of it. And I was like, this ain't even, what genre do you put it in? You had alternatives like Nirvana, and then you got Korn. Like, who are these dudes?
Exactly. New metal.
Like Ring Around the Rosies. These dudes are singing about Ring Around the Rosies, and then it just goes full Bako.
Full ape shit.
Yeah.
It was just
Crazy.
like, what
Jerry's
are we?
Pizza.
Jerry's Pizza.
Oh, yeah.
Another
Jerry's
one.
Pizza days,
I remember
yeah.
No Doubt. Gwen Stefani was in No Doubt. There was about 4 people at Jerry's. Korn shows up. They didn't sell one pizza, dude. Nobody left their spot standing up.
Yeah.
It was like, because it was one of us.
Yeah, right.
Right? We could identify. It was
It's
such
crazy.
a cool deal.
And
dude.
that's what to go to, for the people out there listening, what Bakersfield means to me is how supportive and how many people just champion for the people that are actually out there trying to do something here.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter.
Small town love, buddy.
Dude, I'm telling you. And you got to, what I said earlier in this podcast, you got to have a tribe of people on your side to move the needle. And
Yeah.
man, thank God we're from Bakersfield, because we're slowly inching that way from based on the connections that we've had and the opportunities that we get because of the people from here. So it's incredible.
And think about that. Think about that small town you said. This is, and I'm not saying this, Bakersfield's not a small town.
No.
It might be a small town in the grand scheme of things. Where I live, small town. Okay. You guys, Bakersfield, big city. Okay.
It's a big small town.
It's a big small town.
Yeah.
Because
when
we
you
know
talk
everybody.
about when you talk about a town rallying around everything, business, sports, a band called Korn, spelt with a K,
Charitable causes. We
And
give so
now-
much to charity
and
here in this
now-
town.
a global enterprise, a business that reaches all corners of the earth. These cats have played everywhere: Japan, Saudi Arabia, the Middle East, Europe, South America, Australia.
Killed them all.
And they didn't do it just once.
Yeah.
They're the draw on the massive stage of the massive
Right.
festivals that these countries have. Korn is on at 10 o'clock at night. You were there at 10 in the morning. You saw bands from across the world. Korn from Bakersfield, California is the headliner, and there's 60,000 people, and they're still getting after it.
Raising it.
Jonathan says, when Jonathan commands the crowd, I've done so many shows with Korn, Never once has Korn let me down, or has Jonathan ever sucked.
I think
Guys in
they're
between,
5 times platinum.
The band is awesome.
Gotta be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think they're 5 or 6 times platinum.
I agree. So JG's got him. You said five times platinum, JG?
5 times platinum, I think. I think it's Freak on a Leash, Got the Life, Falling Away From Me, Here to Stay, and there's one other one I don't have pulled up here, but they're legends in the local town here, and for them to be
worldwide.
they're legends worldwide.
You know
But I mean,
what?
they're
Basketball
especially
stars
special
get
to
shoe
us.
deals.
Right.
Korn got
They're
Adidas
iconic and
deal.
special to us
Right.
here.
Exactly.
So getting
And
to
they
do
don't
that.
Yeah, right.
insane.
Getting to do that, Joe, and then getting to do that in that historic place. I mean, Buck
Oh,
Owens,
my God.
another local legend that has just done so much and is still doing a lot for our community. I mean, you think of what KUZZ is doing. You think about the Crystal Palace. His legacy in this town lives on in a strong way. And I listen to KUZZ. I hear you on KUZZ. You play on the local radio, and I'm like, that's my guy right there.
That's a pretty cool
I'm friends
deal.
with this guy, and he's a local
Yeah.
boy, and he's on our local radio.
Those guys have been very helpful to me, And this is a one thing that's kind of interesting about this business. To me, like, I'm still very, very much in the novice stages of this thing. But when you're independent, as we are, I don't have management. I don't have a booking agent. We do all this stuff on our own.
So you have to schedule all of your own tours.
all tours, all of our logistics. We fund everything. Our band members, our drummer Joe Tafra runs a trucking company here in town, and our bass player Derek Vaughn, he's a citrus farmer. Our guitar player Matt Purdy's a high school math teacher. Our other guitar player, I mean, like he's a professional guitar player. He plays in a ton of different bands. But the only reason that we're able to do this, we all have a common goal, and we all have a work ethic to be able to support this thing to go down the road, because this shit is not cheap. And it was funny when we did a show last year in Tempe, Arizona, with Tim McGraw, and it was cool. It was an awesome opportunity, huge stage for us, and we're sound checking, and Joe's hitting a snare drum, trying to get a level for the sound man, and I hear him back there talking, no, you need to drop this bass over off of this road, not on this road. And so I'm thinking to myself, we're on this stage looking out at all this stuff, and Joe's back there on his phone scheduling loads, and he's working, and, going back to the things that, people don't understand. You're sleeping on an extended stay with the family on the floor. We're out there on the road making zero money. And the only reason we can do it is because we have to go to work at Monday at 6 a.m.
Right. You're betting on yourself, which is great.
You're betting on yourself.
A common theme that's come up, and it came up with Joe Schilling as well. I mean, we heard his struggles. I mean, starting up and trying to get to where he can actually be a fighter and making, $1,500 for fights and things like that. In our last podcast, we heard it here with Colby and the struggle of going from, getting fired the day before your child's born and going back and not knowing about health insurance and the struggle. But what I'm hearing here is persistence, just sticking with it and following your passion and being disciplined to get up, like Pete said earlier, get up every day. And
making your bed, buddy.
Yeah, make your bed. Let's move on. Let's keep moving forward. Keep chasing that dream. And same for me. I mean, I'm in the IT business, and I have my own IT company.
Right.
And I've slept on the floor room of server rooms all night. There's been plenty of times where I said, why don't I just have a job instead of this? Because I could go home and not be up all night. But you know what? Chasing it has worked out for me too. It's worked out for Chris. I know Chris has done the same thing with his beautiful business, and all of you guys. I mean, I see a lot of just persistence and that dream. Like, you vision it, you see it. You know where you want to be and keep working towards it. And Joe, I've followed you for a long time. I've followed you since the very beginning. Yeah. Going to just the first time you were just playing little acoustic things with, he play guitar. I didn't know that. And now I've watched you, even on your stage presence, really just change. And I mean, it's something that all of our friends have talked about too. Like, wow. That was a show. Like, we've gone to a show at the racetrack out here with you. Right. We've gone to, shows at the Poorhouse here locally. Just the little venues here locally that I've seen you at. I'm like, the change is profound.
I think a lot of that is being honest with yourself, in that I know that we are very much low man on the totem pole, but we're trying to get to where we want to get to. And the only way to do that, to level up, is by leveling up your abilities and your performances. Right. And you got to be honest with yourself about sucking ass.
And sometimes that mirror sucks to look in.
Sometimes it happens. Dude. But your writing has only gotten better and better and better. These songs that are coming out, I mean, and I keep seeing it. Even if you just look at Spotify. Right. I mean, your songs just keep bouncing up, and now you've got songs that just have crazy amounts of streams, and I'm so impressed with you, man.
We're slowly inching our way that direction, you know what I mean? And it's there's all this one thing that's awesome about this business, it's there's always a level up. There's always another level you can get to. There's always another thing, and I feel where, even if you're Jonathan Davis, if Jonathan Davis wanted to break into jazz acoustic music, it's a different thing for him, and it's a challenge, and it's something different.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would say,
I'd like to say this. Joe Gregory said, he was talking about you, Joe, about, your stage presence. Well, no matter what you do, I don't care if you're the garbage man or the janitor or principal of a school or a car salesman, you need to hone your craft, right?
Right.
Like, if you've settled in, like, this is what I do, well, do it right. Nothing worth doing isn't worth doing right, right? So the musician, pitcher, businessman, garbage man, landscaper.
Take pride is the main thing.
Do it right. Do it right. It's your name. It's you. Put a product that's good. Stand behind what you do.
Absolutely.
And do the fucking best you can.
Right.
And then at the end of the day, you can lay your head down and say, look, I broke my fucking nuts. I'll break my fucking nuts all day long to do what I can. I feel like I did it the right way. I did it the best I could. And that's all you can ask for.
And not only that, but Nostradamus, I will say this. It's funny, the similarities here on the library sessions that everybody has the core of, I think, everybody that we're going to have on library sessions. This is really what it is. It's people. None of us were given shit, right? You weren't given, even though you might be talented, you still got to put in the work.
You got to do it
to be more talented. Because the one thing about hard work is, I'm going to tell you right now, it beats talent every day. I can promise you. I didn't go to Harvard. I didn't go to Yale.
One of my favorite sayings ever. Okay, and this is one of my great friends. I have lunch with him all the time. He's a best friend of mine. His name's Ken Jones. He's a local guy here. He actually has the #1 netting company in the nation for golf netting and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of cool. He's got a cool story. 83 years old, still goes to work every day, loves what he does, very passionate about it, still goes and bids the jobs at 83, gets in a plane, goes and looks at it, specs it out, comes back, puts it together. But he told me something, and he's such a great friend of mine, is that his favorite saying, and I know it's been said before, but when it came from him, it really internalized with me. The harder you work, the luckier you get.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a saying right there.
True.
It's not hard work when you love what you do.
There ain't no such thing as work, baby.
No.
If you love what you're doing,
you might have a shitty day. Everybody has a shitty day at work. A lot of people come up to me and they're like, "Oh, what you do? Oh, it must be awesome." Yeah, you know what? I always say this: strikes and gutters, baby.
Right.
Job. Like I might have a bad day at work. Maybe I'm having a bad day at home, and then and there's just all this stuff. But if you love what you do, when you wake up in the morning.
But how do you have a bad day when you're like, this is something that really I think about when I see guys that are like Joe and like Colby. You might wake up one day and not feel your best, and if you just have to go to the office and work through it, you can get through the day. But when you have to get up and be the pitcher for the Texas Rangers, or you have to be Joe Peters and you're one of the guys opening for Tim McGraw, and you may not feel your best that day. You may say, I don't feel like I'm at my best today, but you have to be your best that day. That's got to be hard, guys. I mean, I look at us and it's like we can get through the day, but what you guys do, you're on the spotlight.
Hey, whoa.
You're on the spotlight.
JG, you speak for yourself.
So for me, like even the World Series stuff and all that kind of stuff, everything that I ever got to experience in life and perform at that stage, there wasn't a single time that I didn't feel a little bit of anxiety and a little bit of nervousness.
Absolutely.
Because I felt like if I didn't feel that, I was too comfortable.
Yeah.
I was too prepared. I needed to be I felt like even leading up to every start, I felt like, did I do enough?
Yeah.
Like when walk on that stage and you're prepared.
Yep.
But you're like, did I do enough to put on the show that I needed to do, or to get this guy out? There's that little bit of nervousness, and I felt like if I didn't have that, I would be flat.
You were complacent. You were complacent,
Yeah.
and that's when you struggle.
Right.
Listen, no one. I always hate when people are like, "Why can't you be the best? Why can't someone say I'm the best? Why can't someone say listen, I want a heart surgeon that's the best. I want him to tell me he's the best. I don't want him to say, am I right? Wait a minute.
But you can say,
I'm not having my best day.
When it's all said and done, you can look back and be like, hey, look, those were really good years for me. And that's as an artist or as a player or anything else to be like, look, those years were really, really good for me.
Yeah. And why can't you say that? People condemn people for saying they're good at something. It's okay to say that you're good at what you do.
And a lot of that,
pompous ass. You're not being a pompous ass. You're not showing off.
Right.
Look, I've done my whole life. I've put everything into this. Okay. I feel like I'm pretty good at what I do. Right. Why is that wrong? It shouldn't be.
Right.
The people that think it's wrong are the people that half-assed it, mailed it in, and they're a little bummed out with their own lives.
Well, it's also, I think it goes back.
It's a lot of envy too, and jealousy and shit. I mean, it is, man.
But
Chris,
for us, like we talk about Bakersfield a lot, I feel like there's a sense of humility, and then that I always felt like I wanted to be, just a little bit better. Like you just 100%. Feel like you can hey, all right, I had 10 punch outs. I had 3 1-2 counts or 0-2 counts that I could have probably gotten a punch out, and I didn't get those, but I still got the out. Like at the end of the day, the performance was great, but like individually, like I never looked at it that way, right? Like I do great. I wanted it to be great for my team, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Like you walk off the stage and be like, man, dude, you were awesome. Dude, like we freaking killed it tonight.
So the opposite of
opposite,
LeBron
like-
James. You're the opposite.
Right.
Everybody.
Well, we're not gonna throw names out there, but yeah, yes.
But
Colby.
the group walked off.
Like
and
I want to
was
win.
dominant.
I want the big picture at the end of the day from my guys, right? If we're all doing it together, we're all successful. We're all gonna have that paycheck, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what I do as an individual. If I'm great for my guys and I pump my guys up and they're great for me and they take care of me, they field those ground balls, they do that kind of stuff. They pick me up when I'm, like if I'm off beat or whatever the situation is, like, hey, you missed this or did that, like,
my guys have saved my ass more times than you can shake a stick.
It happens every day in my world.
Right. And that's what it's about. Like we talked about earlier, surrounding yourself with the right people, and to get yourself
You want a common goal.
right.
I
Exactly.
can agree with that. I can totally agree with that. But there's nothing wrong with saying that someone is good at what they do.
And I'm gonna jump to
Correct.
something real
I
quick,
agree.
and I'm gonna jump back on page here. So it's like, for instance, for me, there would be no LeBron James work ethic without Michael Jordan
Right. Or Kobe Bryant.
or Kobe Bryant. Absolutely. So then you got, there would be no, J.P. Morgan or Rockefeller, because all they did was make an Elon Musk. Right? I mean, that's the reality of it. There would be no Morgan Wallen if there wasn't a George Strait, and there wouldn't be a George Strait if there was no Hank Sr.
Yeah.
I mean, you always, and
and
then the reality of it is hanging out with the right people and doing the right things and being around people that want to be successful, truly successful and happy for you.
You have to have your idols.
You're going to have idols. And it's okay when people say that's the GOAT. Hey, here's the deal. Do I think Tom Brady's better than Joe Montana? I think that they're probably the same guy. Do I think there's guys with more talent than Tom Brady? Absolutely. Is he the GOAT? It's pretty hard to deny. What's he got? 7 rings, 6 rings?
Yeah. 7. Yeah. 7. They went to 9. They went to 9. Just watch yourself there a little bit, okay? And listen, I've said this to my sons 100%. And you said, there wouldn't be this guy if there wasn't this guy. And there wouldn't be because if you surround yourself with losers,
You're going to be a loser.
Nostradamus.
If you surround yourself with driven people that have the same drive as you, that see the same thing, you can be told no. Okay, cool. I'm going to keep going. At some point, maybe no is no. Maybe no is no.
Sure, that's probably true.
You've given it all. You've done what you could, and it either works or it doesn't. In your head, you can at least lay your head down and go, I did everything I could.
No, absolutely. Hey, PD Pop, we're going to turn it real quick to JG. Real quick, JG, you got a question here on
Well, no, I
Library
just want to say something real quick that's clicked in my head, and going back to both of you about things, about the being nervous and having that little bit of anxiety. And Joe, I want to hear from you on this too. I went to a concert at Dodger Stadium and got tickets down on the ground for I think it was Morgan Wallen, Sam Hunt, and Luke Bryan, right? And
Metal Fest.
when you turn around and when you turn around and look up at that stadium, and see all of those people up in the stadium behind you, I couldn't imagine being the guy they're all there for, seeing that, right? And then I've seen some of your shows, Joe. You've had some big shows, and like you said, opening for Tim McGraw, and you've done some other big shows. I mean, I couldn't imagine. I can't imagine.
But isn't that the dream to get to that stage, right? That's the dream. So I think JG and PD Pops lived this life is Nostradamus, as we call him now, is Joe and Colby. I mean, no different in even business, JG. You want to get to a point where you go, I was built for this moment. I was built for this specific moment. All the hard work is now. And that's, either you can turn the lights on somebody and they can crumble or they can get bright.
There's one of the first big shows at night, and it's a whole other story how I even got the opportunity to play the show in the first place. But the show, it was a Boots in the Park. It's a festival that they have out here in California and New Mexico and Arizona. And I've been always wanting to get involved with them. And they asked me to play one in Bakersfield, and I was opening for Cole Swindell.
That was a great concert, by
Dustin
the way.
Lynch,
Awesome
all sorts. My buddy Tyler Rich was there, and we had an awesome show. Actually, let me back that up. We sucked ass. And there was a lot of problems on our stage.
So it was
that
me in
night.
the shower and saying,
it was
God
pretty
dang
bad.
it.
But when
That dang roadies.
right, shit, dude, there were so many things. But when I got done with that show, Lex, who is the artist relations person, she came up to me and she said, "Hey, Joe, we need you to sing the national anthem in like 30 minutes. So just be stage side." And at that point, I had never sang the national anthem before. And I'd always told myself that I was never going to sing the national anthem because there was no reward in it. There's just a whole lot of risk, you know.
Right.
And I'd already just my demeanor that day was just like I was taken down such a huge peg.
beat
I
on.
sucked. And I was like, shit, I don't want to do this, dude. Are you kidding me? And it was just like there was no option. Like, you're going to do this right now.
You're doing it.
They just
And-
threw that on you.
They just threw that on me. And
Oh,
so
wow.
I went out and I did that. And it was a biggest crowd that I at that point had played for. There was like 6,000-7,000 people out in front of me, sang right before Cole Swindell went on. And I was like, oh shit, Joe, don't mess this up, boy. And I did it.
This
and
is gonna make
I did
YouTube.
okay, exactly. I did it. I got through it. I found a way to do it. My buddies were working with me backstage on how to sing it. I did it. And then a lady that was there that night, she had a daughter that worked for Dodger Stadium and reached out and said, "Hey, we would be honored if you'd come and do this at Dodger Stadium." And so a month and a half later, my second time singing the national anthem was at Dodger Stadium.
So you cowboyed up, bud.
But it's
Cowboy
like
up.
your
And you
opportunity.
did awesome.
You
dude.
can't.
You did
you can't
awesome.
back away from the shit. You know what I mean? If you get an opportunity, you can't be a pussy about it. You got
No,
to
100%.
That's
so
the
true.
hardest song to sing in front of a bunch of people. I know you know, we grow up, we sing it before July.
Because if you mess up just a little bit, everybody's like,
right?
everybody's could be
tough,
the
dude.
biggest critic about
Once you're on the
that
you're on the
song.
clock and you're standing in front of, you know, a bunch of people, and you don't even know you did it. You don't
Right.
even know that
It's a
all the
minute
people
and a half
All
tops.
the people that have
Like,
all
you
the
know what I
people
mean?
We take bets.
Super Bowl.
Because
Super Bowl.
Higher
no,
lows,
because
huh?
it's 160 times a year, right? We listen to this thing, right? Because like baseball, right?
Yeah.
So
Good
even
and bad.
more in spring training, right? We listen to this thing like 200 times a year, right? Out of
Oh, yeah.
365 days, right? Plus postseason, like sometimes you might get into over 200 games, right? We listen to this thing every day, so we would place bets like, "Hey, what's
What's the time frame?
What's the over under?" Right? You know, so you may have certain people who get on, like if it's a little girl, it'd be like, "Ooh, it might be a little bit longer."
Oh, that's awesome.
Like, so we like place bets, like $5 bets. You know what I mean? Like, all right, what's it gonna be? Like, hey, minute 40, minute 30, minute 35, anything under, over, whatever. Like, it's like we listen to it so many times.
Do you know who I want to hear sing the national anthem?
That's why
Laney
Pete Rose is
Wilson.
in the Hall
My
of Fame.
God.
He bet on the god dang national anthem.
Well, he didn't have a translator either.
I know. What?
There you go.
Joe
Okay.
Peters, I'm shocked that somebody hasn't picked you up at this point with the success
Per
we've seen and the
Pete
songs
Rose.
we've seen,
Per.
the writing that
Charlie
we've seen. It's got to be coming soon,
This
man.
stuff is so competitive. Like, I mean, I couldn't even imagine the level of competition on the MLB side of things. It's professional sports, any professional avenue from that regard. I think the only bigger difference is that you don't have to be athletic to play music at all. I mean, that really chops the amount of people that could be have potential down. You know what I mean? Unlike myself, I'm not athletic at all.
Yeah, you are. I've done jujitsu with you, guy. Man, you are athletic.
But the fact is that like it is the competitive side of it is on the social media platforms.
Right.
Today's day and age with music, you know, a label's not going to pick you up unless you're blowing up on social media and you're already having this huge following. They're not even going to even look at you, you know, and I think a lot of labels are finding that they may have signed somebody that has never played shows, has never gone down the road.
Right.
And they blew up off this one thing and they put them out on the road.
But I will
and-
tell you, I think that's a two-edged sword. I'm going to tell you
Well,
why
it
on the
is.
independent side too as well. Because what's going to end up happening, in my opinion, that could happen to independent artists like yourself. Now you're independent, social media blows up, and then all of a sudden you're getting money. It's like now you're feeding your own machine.
That's what Cody Johnson was doing. Cody Johnson, when
Who's
he
another
got,
great
he got
guy.
his deal, he already had 2 or 3 buses on the road. He was living his own. He was killing it when he was independent.
You can almost say to them, so what are you going to do for me?
Well,
Like,
that's
I've got all
right.
this stuff going on. Like those labels are basically coming to you going, oh, I know we missed this,
Well-
and we don't give a fuck about you,
Right.
but we want these 1.5 million people to come over into our website.
Absolutely.
And see other people. So
Right.
what am I doing?
Right, what are you
it's
getting out
almost
of the
like
deal?
an NIL thing. Like, I'm a college football player. The fuck am I going to go to the draft on my second year for when I can make $7 million here? What am I going to go make $800,000 as a fucking rookie quarterback?
Which is absolutely killing collegiate sports.
Yeah.
This NIL deal's got to stop, dude. You cannot give an 18-year-old kid money like that. How is he supposed to listen to the coach when he's making more money than the coach? I mean, come on. But I will tell you, in Joe's world,
I would have tried it. I would
I'd given her hell.
I gave her the old high school try.
I promise I'll listen.
But I mean, the reality of it is now with the independent, to me, the aspect of it is you can actually create your own lane when there was no lanes back then. You stayed in their lane. I mean, look at Elvis. The guy robbed him for 50-something% of his whole earnings his whole life.
No, there was a lane. You just didn't hear about it. Now
Right.
they just made it legal.
They created their own.
Yeah, and that's why we work on Monday through Fridays, and all our guys are working hard, and when we get in the studio, that comes straight out of our back pocket. When we go down the road and we have a bus on the road, that comes straight out of our pocket. There's
And
nothing.
buses ain't cheap, buddy.
Buses are not cheap. We figured that out real quick. You know what I mean? And so
We want Eddie's Winnebago. Uncle Eddie's Winnebago
exactly
now.
right. At best, now it's about all we can afford now.
Right.
But you have to do these things to move the needle. If you're not going to take somebody on, and you're not going to give up your credits on stuff, and you're not going to give up a lot of the things that people do give up when they sign to deals, and you want to be independent, you got to find a way to self-fund, and a lot of that's through sponsorships, and a lot of that's through friends, and a lot of that, and there are ways to do it.
There are,
but
especially
it's like
these days.
Chris, you build this whole business up, and you want to scale it up, and someone's like, well, yeah, go and give me 75% of it, and we'll take you to the next level.
Not
It's like,
happening.
well, I'm not even going to be getting the same amount if I gave you.
I just sold my dream.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not going to sell your dream.
Right.
Colby ain't going to sell his dream.
And
Nostradamus is still dreaming, baby.
And you know what,
JG's
though?
got his dream pants on.
And you know what, though? Like, that to me is where, like, I'm not sitting on here saying that, like, I don't want a label or anything, because I do. I want somebody to, I've got a good tribe of people, and I've got good people that we work together. We have a common goal. I want somebody on my team that wants to help Joe Peters move in that direction.
And then in return, it helps them.
Move the needle. I don't want somebody to shelf me. It's like somebody be like, "Oh, I'm going to sign
that happens.
Colby,
That's real life
and
shit,
then I'm
dude.
just going to put him over here on the bench so he doesn't go anywhere."
And that happens. That's happened a lot.
It does, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to have to take that risk. I put too much work in this at this point to just give all that shit up.
No, absolutely.
Joe, I feel like these days with all the digital stuff and the social media, I feel like you guys have a little bit more leverage, a little bit more leverage, because you're back in the day, a band was just a band, and they had guys almost like baseball scouts. They had guys and they saw this band and they were like, "Oh, this band's pretty good." There was a guy in New England. He went to the rock clubs and he got shit-faced every night, and he went and checked out these bands. And then he followed this one band because they had traction. And then they gave him a deal. There was no digital stuff. So now, again, like I said, you might have someone that comes knocking on your door finally, and they came knocking on your door because they didn't pound the pavement and watch
Right.
it.
Absolutely. That's a fact.
They sat behind their computer and they saw click, 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 click. They've got a roster of clicks. Right. And every morning they look at these guys and they go, "Oh, this fucking guy's got 1.5 million without a label."
Yep.
Okay.
Right.
Grass works. And then that's when they come and they knock on the door with their shiny shoes and their shiny Lambo, like you said. "Hey, bud, man, we've noticed what you've been doing." Really? You just noticed?
Where were you
now?
at 3 years ago?
We've been doing it ourselves.
Right.
And I've been making a living and putting food on my table with this. So what are you going to do?
Yeah.
What are you offering? Because I can just stay and do this. Because there's a lot of musicians out there, country, rock, that make a great living with today's social media and gigging and selling merch and doing their own thing, hiring separate companies, promotional companies, publicists, that kind of thing. The days of the record company, yes, I get it. It's a big thing, and they've got juice on the radio and this and that. I happen to know a guy gets no love on country music.
Yep.
We're sold out just about every night.
Yep. Absolutely. And and that's the for us, when you look at the reality of costs and this thing, it's, a lot of these opening acts, if you're getting $500 to $1,500 for as an opening act in a lot of these markets, you're killing it. You know what I mean? You're getting something. In a lot of these cases, we don't get a damn thing for opening up. And so you have to be willing to take that risk to grow the audience. We equate our success each night as how many more followers did we get on social media, how many
100%,
and where's our streams.
You got to be willing to eat corn chips and peanut butter.
Which I told the boys, I said when we started this thing, some top ramen, throw that in there.
Boy, put some butter on it, some hot sauce.
So when we were doing the whole rodeo thing back in the days, we slept in many a pickup and everything. I said, we just can't do it anymore, boys. Let's just sack up and let's just splurge on one hotel room.
Right. Hey, that's the funnest times. That's the times that a label
blankets on the floor
or big league team can't take away from you. You don't know my life.
Hey,
you don't know what I've been doing.
Yeah, A-ball. Like when back in the day when I was in A-ball, it's a lot different now. But like when I was in A-ball, it was literally all the team had to supply was peanut butter and jelly. That was
Oh
it.
shit!
Like you get done with BP, it's like 2 jars,
PBJs, baby.
2 jars, peanut butter and jelly, and multiple loaves of bread.
Spread that between 2 sunflower seeds, and you're good to go.
That's all you had. That's all you had. And then we got to double A. They mixed in some soup.
Can I just tell you something that bothers me?
There you go, big time.
Yeah. Big time.
Hey, one thing that bothers me
Not these days.
about my kids.
It's all crazy now. These kids are
So
spoiled.
I make sandwiches. My wife goes on a vacation that she rarely gets with all girl trip. And so I got the kids and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to make some peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. My kids looked at me. Dude, if I just said
Got something going
hamburger
outside your
helper,
head.
which I love too.
Oh.
Big hamburger helper guy.
Oh, my kids still love hamburger.
So my kids is that they took one bite. They were like they were 7 years old. My wife comes home. She goes, hey, how are the kids? I was like, I'll just tell you this. They are allergic to peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. There was no Uber Eats. No, I'm like, well, I cooked them steaks. They didn't like that. I'm like, I've had it. I'm up to here with midgets yelling at me about they don't like peanut butter and jelly.
Now my daughter, she makes me this last year in 7th grade. She made me almost make her a peanut butter and jelly almost every morning.
Love it. It's good because that was
loves it.
that's when you played sports. Well, not only just sports. Our parents, I think, blamed it on sports.
Do you guys know what peanut butter and fluff is?
Oh God, tell me.
Marshmallow?
The marshmallow.
Marshmallow.
Right?
Do you?
JG's got it covered over here.
The fluff,
Does he got it?
You got to think fluff, right? It's got to be marshmallow, right?
Marshmallow.
That's right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Peanut butter and marshmallow.
I know what I'm doing later.
Hey, I'm going to be honest with you.
My dad would always do peanut butter, banana, and honey.
I love honey on peanut butter and jelly.
That's
Peanut
lovely
butter,
as
peanut
well.
butter and honey is awesome by itself.
That's a
too.
stoner sandwich right there.
Hey, I will tell you this, kind of in just leaving here library sessions. I hope you guys at home have really loved the show. We've had two great guests on today: Joe Peters, Colby Lewis. We got Nostradamus, JG. So I'm going to give an opportunity to Nostradamus to close it out, and then to JG, and then we've got a special debut from Joe Peters on his new song that he is getting ready to release here shortly. That just wrote last week. So can't wait for you guys to join in here, and we'll be back to you here in a second. So.
Hey, I just want to say, great show, great. I hope people keep listening. I will say one thing. I'm going to give you a little sports tip. Everybody's got their little take. Mine might be a little late, but here's my little take on the Clark Reese WNBA thing. Everybody's, oh, dude, she's beating on her, and this girl's taking. I think they're buddies, and they're texting on the side. We can make this league better.
Make a little money on extra?
You go ahead, go after me. I'll be the darling. You can be the villain. Don't be a little rough. I mean, keep it, keep it nice a little bit, but we can make the league better. Everybody else has got their, oh, geez, and this and that. No, that's basketball.
That's a great point, actually.
If it was the men's league, they wouldn't have called that. Maybe they're working together to make the league better. Just saying.
That's a great point.
Let that
Hey,
swirl
Nostradamus, I'm telling you, JG, the kid is morphed in one day.
What has happened to Pete today?
Dude.
I'm just sitting here like, I mean, I've been quiet. I was quiet for the first part of the show because I'm just listening to Pete.
The Nostradamus
My God.
did. Nostradamus, and not only that, but Nostradamus is going to start giving us sports updates.
And then
every
listen,
week.
dude,
It's going to be all Yankee stuff.
Before
Oh,
Joe
shouldn't
plays
matter.
it,
Yeah, we don't want all the Yankee
don't
stuff.
want all the
like to
East
say
Coast
You can
this.
talk about the Philadelphia
All you
Eagles
people-
if you want.
To all you people that don't watch hockey, if you did not see Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals, Oilers, Panthers, these guys were the absolute studs of professional hockey.
Incredible
This
game.
game, this
Wow.
game
That was insane.
was fast, skilled, and violent. If you weren't paying attention as a skater on that ice, could have been the end of your life. Playoff hockey is probably the greatest sport out there.
I am such a hockey fan now, I can't even see straight.
Each other. These guys are smashing each other. Baseball, pitchers are throwing these crazy balls, and batters are smoking it. NHL hockey during the playoffs, it's got to be the greatest sport ever. These are the most skilled, talented guys getting after it. Shifts are fast and furious. If you say you can't follow the puck, stop it.
Follow the players.
Hey, that was a great Pete. That was a great Stanley
the whole
Cup
season. Watch playoff hockey, and most certainly watch the Stanley Cup.
Hey, JG's got a little add-on for that.
Well, I was just gonna say, Pete, you're absolutely right. That whole Stanley Cup final was unbelievable. And I mean, to see the Edmonton Oilers, which, by the way, in Bakersfield, we are the feeder team with the Bakersfield Condors. Great organization.
You are, that's right.
We are the feeder team to the Edmonton Oilers. So I was hoping that Edmonton would win. I mean, obviously, we got to root for the local team, and we even had a guy that played here that was there. But to see that comeback, and man, Connor McDavid, you kidding me?
That guy's a freak.
That was insane. I mean, he's pulling stats that are close, if not better than Wayne Gretzky. Right? I don't know. We have to go back and look at the.
He was close to the great one, but I will tell you this too: Connor McDavid,
Gretzky is still a
stud player,
one of the goats. So
close to the great one. But
yes,
it just goes to show you, if you saw the very end of that game,
it was insanity.
They put it all on the line. Connor McDavid was to his knees, exhausted. The guy played 4 of the last 5, maybe 6 minutes of the game.
That's
of course,
insane.
He's the best player on the team. Get him on the ice. We need to win this game. He was smoked. He gave everything on that ice. All those players give everything on that ice. And if you're missing NHL hockey, tune in. That's all I can say.
I love it. Nostradamus with the little sports trivia there for us and all that. Just
educated in every aspect.
Yeah, that's why we're at the library sessions.
Congrats to the Florida Panthers.
It doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah, congrats to them. Congrats to the Panthers.
Congrats to the Florida team, the Panthers, their first Stanley Cup. They've been a team for 30 years. Why does Florida have a team? Because everybody from New England moves down there. They call them snowbirds, and they wanted to watch hockey. Well, they got to watch hockey.
A lot of blue hairs down there.
Best hockey, and now they're kissing the cup.
Well, they fucked my show up in Fort Lauderdale, let me tell you that much. Because everyone is at the goddamn game, not my show.
Hey, Joe, I hate to, great rock band once said, it's a long way to the top. If you want to rock and roll, baby.
It's exactly right, brother.
All right, we're gonna take a break. We're gonna take a break, right? We're gonna get Joe set up to play.
Yes, we are.
And then Joe's gonna play this new song that we want to hear. And then after that, we gotta wrap this thing up.
You betcha. We'll see you here in the library sessions.
All right, guys, we're back here at Library Sessions. Joe Peters and Colby Lewis, our guests today. And Joe is going to play us a debut song, a new song that he's just getting ready to release. It's called Fastest Way Home. Tell us about that song, Joe.
Yeah, so a couple weeks ago, first of all, I want to say thanks again for having me. I really do appreciate it.
Absolutely, buddy.
Thank you.
Awesome, man.
This ain't it, amigo. Don't forget about us little people when you make it.
Shit. Oh, this song, this is one of those songs that Chris mentioned earlier that we'll end up chatting 12 o'clock at night, just about random songs. And he had asked me if I got anything new in the hopper. And this is one that literally just wrote a couple weeks ago with a couple buddies, Davis Forney and Cam Newby there in Nashville. And this was a song I brought in this idea, and they didn't like it. And they kind of like the melody that I had going on. And then Davis had an idea for a hook that we kind of liked half of it, and then we ended up taking a different direction, and that in and of itself is the songwriting process. And we went in with 2 different ideas and came out with this. It's called The Fastest Way Home. painted line. Probably take me too much time, but I ain't got enough of that these days. I wanna wait for a long weekend to see my family and my friends. Hell, I'm already on the way, 'cause the fastest way home is turning up Merle, Willie, and Hank, drinking them beers that your daddy drinks, daydreaming on a front porch swing, watching that sunset sinking low. Flashback, mama saying supper time, getting mad when I give a dog a bite, taking that trip down memory road. That's the fastest way home. Well, I could take the interstate, do 98 in a fast lane, pedal to the metal all the way from A to B. Or I could try to book a flight, take an Amtrak overnight, 'cause them planes and trains are built to go full speed. But the fastest way home is turning up Merle, Willie, and Hank, drinking them beers that your daddy drank, and daydreaming on a front porch swing, watching that sunset sinking low. Flashback, mama saying supper time, getting mad when you give a dog a bite, taking that trip down memory road. Well, that's the fastest way home. Yeah, I need a little slow down, been missing my hometown, and the fastest way home is turning up Merle, Willie, and Hank, drinking them beers that your daddy drinks, and daydreaming on a front porch swing, watching that sunset sinking low. Flashback, mama saying supper time, getting mad when you give a dog a bite, taking that trip down memory road. That's the fastest way home. Whoa, whoa. That's the fastest way home. That's the fastest way home. In the raw right there.
Yeah, buddy. Way to go.
Joe, that was awesome, man. Great song. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. I've watched you from your first song to where you're at now, and I mean,
surely.
just keeps getting better and better. And
Whiskey and cigarettes will do that too.
Yeah, I bet you're out. I'll tell you what, when Joe sent that to me there morning, about 4:45 in the morning, it woke my ass up, and I said, holy shit, I got to hear that again. I mean, I think that kind of touches everybody in this room to a point where, you know, it hits all of us, you know, I think probably with the same impact. But once again, Library Sessions, guys, what a great group of gentlemen on today. Mr. Joe Peters, Colby Lewis. As always, the Nostradamus comes through with the knowledge, baby. And JG just spending his life away back there, just grinding for the group.
Mr. Producer.
So as your host, Nostradamus, JG, I'm CB. Thank you for coming to join us for the Library Sessions. Make sure you check us out on YouTube and Spotify. And we'd love to get your
Apple
feedback.
Music.
And Apple Music as well. So please feel free to reach out to us. And any questions you guys got, please leave it in our boxes. So we care about this show a lot. We want to make sure everybody gets informed with what's going on in the real world and how people deal with real life situations as far as whether chasing your dreams. So I just hope all you out there with Library Sessions keep chasing your dreams. And we're glad you guys joined us today. Thank you very much.